Mike Hurd, thanks so much for coming in today and talking to us about this incredible story. Tell me, first of all, what was your involvement 18 years ago with the Kamaya Mobley case?
It's almost a career ago, but I was the supervisory special agent at the FBI in Jacksonville, Florida, over the Violent Crime Squad, and did a lot of work with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, primarily robbery and homicide in that role.
So, take us back. You got the word that this has happened. How did that word come to you? What went through your mind with your expertise, and what was your first move?
Well, initially I got the information from the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. Normally in those cases you hear about the 48-hour rule, but the FBI likes to get into the case at the outset just in case it does go into an interstate case.
You said 48-hour rule. What does that mean?
Basically, a lot of things can happen in the first 48 hours, and usually good things happen within the first 48 hours. Not so good things may happen after 48 hours when you're looking for in an abduction case.
So as soon as you got the word, what happened?
Well, I got the word. We sent agents out to the area of the hospital, started liaisoning and coordinating with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, who was way ahead of us in the ball game because they got there a lot sooner than we did. But we had a real good working relationship with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, so it was easy to blend in with them and at least get the information out soon, so whatever we could do to get it out past the community, out of the state, that we could do that real quick.
Now, trying to get your mindset, did you have children at the time, or how did this affect you, this case?
I did have 2 children at the time. This case was a special case because I had almost an identical case when I worked in Chicago, Illinois. It was a nurse imposter abduction, similar circumstances. We were fortunate in that case within 48 hours to get the baby back, primarily through citizen cooperation. So when this one came, I said it's a little bit of a deja vu for me in that I know what we need to do initially, and the Sheriff's Office was totally on board with everything that we wanted to do and that they wanted to do. So it was pretty easy to get things moving at that point.
So 48 hours goes by, 3 days, 4 days. How strong was your search? Try to describe everywhere you looked.
We looked in every place that we could, primarily using the media at that point. You know, if you go back at that time, there were no security measures in hospitals. We did have some blurry pictures from the hospital security cameras, but you have to remember we had no picture of the suspect. We had no picture of the baby. The baby was only 8 hours old at the time, so there was really nothing to go on. It was my suspicion at that time, and still today, that Ms. Williams, who took Alexis, was able to get out before the dragnet was put in place around the hospital. We didn't have Amber Alert at that time. So there were a lot of things technologically and forensically that we didn't have at that time that we have now, and it makes it a little bit easier and a little bit more likely that you'll have a successful conclusion.
Being in charge at the time, when you were not successful in finding the baby, how frustrating is that for an FBI agent?
Well, it's frustrating not only for an FBI agent, for any law enforcement official. You know, I mentioned earlier to you when we were talking that throughout an individual's career in law enforcement, there's good cases and there's bad cases. You don't take many of them home. Kidnapping cases you always took home. When this one was unsuccessful, it hit home. And for the last 18 years, I've always hoped that we would have a successful outcome. I didn't give up, just as Mrs. Mobley didn't give up. I'm totally impressed, and to see the love that she had for her missing daughter with the birthday cakes, the pieces of the birthday cakes, the birth mother, Ms. Mobley. So it's heartbreaking not to successfully get a child back, but there's always hope. And
so you had hope all these years?
Oh, I have. If you talk to many people that I know, either in the Sheriff's Office, and I believe it was a contact of yours in the Sheriff's Office that I had spoken to recently, and I made the comment to him that this case always bothered me because I didn't see it as a hostile abduction case. I saw it more as a, if you want to call it a profile case. Someone took that baby that either didn't have a child, couldn't have a child, or had recently lost a child. And this came from the FBI profilers. The information came down and we tried to work with them on what to expect in this case, just as we did in the Chicago case. And it just seemed that it fit the profile. And now in hindsight, as I was standing here tonight waiting for this interview, I saw on the news where apparently Ms. Williams, the abductor, had lost a child. And it really kind of fit right into the profile. Even the territory, within 3 hours, it seems like a long way away, but it's really not. Other cases that have happened have been very similar to this. It doesn't necessarily, it's not like Chicago where we found the baby within miles of the hospital. This one was in another state. And unfortunately, in a small community, whether they even saw the information that we were putting out at that time, we don't know. And maybe through interviews now we will find out.
So, where were you when you got the news on Friday the 13th that this baby had been found 18 years later?
Believe it or not, I had just walked off the golf course. And I walked off the golf course, I was checking my iPhone and checking the news, and I saw that, and it was amazing. I really felt great at that time. And I was happy for both families and happy for Alexis. But we have to remember that Alexis is in a very difficult situation, and she needs time. From what I see in the media outlets, everything is going real well initially here, and I hope it stays that way. But it's traumatic, even if you're 18 years old. It's a trauma.
I remember when I covered this as a reporter 18 years ago, I thought that baby was gone forever. I thought the baby had been sold in some kind of underground trade thing. I just figured we would never see her again. But you had hope that we would see her. Did it surprise you that we now do? Because I was flabbergasted.
To be honest with you, it did. I mean, you're always surprised when something happens like this 18 years after the fact. And everything aligned perfectly. For whatever reason, Alexis felt that there was something wrong in her life. That led her to question some things. And I don't have the details of that right now, but it's my understanding that she felt that there was something that was just not there. Now, whether it was because of the Social Security number or a name or a birth certificate, I don't know. But the fact that she did feel that way and contacted people to ultimately have the DNA run, and thankfully, we had not much technology back then, but we did save some of the DNA.
And what did you save of the DNA? Like how?
The hospital did that, and I think it came from the afterbirth, and the fluids, because it was so recent. I guess they had not disposed of it yet, and so to keep it for all these years, and for others that might be out there questioning, there's still children that are missing, and the Missing Center for Exploited Children can tell you a lot about that. But people that are seeing this nationally, if they have questions, it's a DNA test, and I would not be a bit surprised if we didn't see more, and it would be a great surprise if we saw more.
Because of this case here in Jackson.
Because of this case and the national press that it's getting.
Anything else emotions that are going through your head, just having had such an intimate closeness with this case for you personally?
Well, there is. I'm ecstatic that this turned out the way it did. I can now go on and say, it was a successful end. I didn't have anything to do with it at this point in time, nothing at all. But it just makes you feel good that there's closure to this, not only for the families and for Alexis, but for all the people that were involved in it. And I know you've talked to people at the sheriff's office. Mike Williams has done a fantastic job over there. And they're all ecstatic about it. And we're talking. One of the detectives that I worked with called me. That's how we got to talk. He said, "Hey, Mike, did you see the news?" "Yeah, I saw the news." So
this has been like a reunion for you with people you haven't talked to in years.
It has been. So it's been very good, and I'm very happy for them.
Retired FBI, Michael Hurd, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Oh, you're very welcome. Take care.